Hello and welcome to the ScatterVolt channel, and today this is my best video quality rendering settings for Sony Vegas. Now before I get into anything, I like to show you guys this nice little menu where you guys can view basically if you want to see my specific property project settings or my video effects settings or even my video rendering quality settings. So this will be this nice little menu that you guys can access anytime within the video if you want to see specific parts of my video or you just want to watch this entire thing. But anyways, I'm first going to start off with the project property settings. So I like to have my template at 1920 by 1080 at 30 FPS, and of course you can manually set this. We had field order at none, pixel aspect ratio at 1, output rotation at 0 because you do not want your video to be tilted. Frame rate is at 30, you do not necessarily have to set this to 50 or 59.940, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And then have stereoscopic 3 mode at off. Now in pixel format, even though a lot of people use 32-bit floating point full range, it gives me rendering problems, so I like to keep this at 8-bit. However, if you want to change the compositing gamma, I like to have this at 2.222. In order to change that, you have to go into full range, and then you can manually change this. So I like to of course, set this to 2.222, and then I just like to have this at 8-bit. Have view transform at off, and then full resolution rendering quality at best. Motion blur type at Gaussian, and interlace method at interpolate fields. And always have this checked if you're a new time user. You want to keep all of your new projects with these sort of settings. Now to get into the video effects, the first thing I want to very heavily stress on you guys is one really important thing to make your gameplay just really stand out. So I want you guys to right click on your video, go into switches, and then click disable resample. Now the difference is pretty insane. So I want you guys to see smart resample versus disable resample. Now, this makes your gameplay look a lot smoother and a lot more connected and not so choppy, which is very good because you want the best, video quality overall for your gameplay. But there's more to that. So I want you guys to go into video effects, and I want you guys to add a few things. So go add Sony color corrector secondary, add Sony sharpen, add Sony saturation adjust, and then lastly add Sony unsharp mask. Now for color corrector secondary, I already have this as a saved preset, but if you click on custom, you can set this circle right here, this white circle, around the yellow to red range and just move it out just a little bit. And then keep all these values the same. I think this is all the same by default, I'm pretty sure. But this is basically going to give you just a bit more vibrance. So instead of just looking like plain and blue, this makes your video look a bit more vibrant and natural. Now for sharpen, make sure you do not have too much of this stuff, because if you have too much sharpening, then your video is going to look like crap. So anyways, what I like to have this at is really low depending on what sort of video I'm editing at. But usually newer games today, I like to keep the sharpening really low. So I like you guys set this at 0.030. And what basically this will do is, as you can see, the video looks a little bit fuzzy, but whenever you add sharpening, it looks a lot more clear, and I really admire that. Now for saturation adjust, I want you guys to choose boost midtones, and this basically will give the warm colors, pop out a little bit more. So as you can see, more of the the yellows, the reds, and the oranges pop out a little bit more, and that's just give some better video quality overall. Now for unsharp mask, this is a really handy tool. So I'd like you guys to set this kind of low at 0.020 for mountain radius. I like to not have too much of this stuff unless I'm editing. Well, it kind of depends on video on how much unsharp mask you need. For newer games, I like to have it really low, but really what this will do is that I'll take out a lot of the boring gray colors that you see and just kind of make them disappear, so your gameplay will look a lot more vibrant. And already our gameplay looks really fantastic. And now to move on to the rendering settings. So for my rendering settings, I personally like to use Windows Movie Media. I personally like to use this because I like to use this over MP4 and MPEG, because Windows Media Video just looks a lot more refined, and I really admire that. MP4 just looks kind of a little bit rugged, normal. Windows Media Video just looks really refined, and I really like that. So in order to have the best settings, I want you guys to customize a template. And for the audio, I like to set this at CBR, Windows Media Audio 10 Professional, and attributes at 1440 kilobits per second at 96 kilohertz, 2-channel, 24-bit AV. Now anything above this, especially kilobit wise, and your ears cannot tell the difference. So I like to keep it at this, unless you're going to do any 5.1 or 7.1 channel audio gameplay, but really, nobody on YouTube really wants to listen at 5.1 or 7.1, so I just usually like to keep this at 2-channel, because usually people listen to this in stereo. Now for video, keep this at quality VBR, format at Windows Media Video 9, and the image size at custom, so you can set it at 1920 by 1080, and the pixel aspect ratio at 1. Now for frame rate, have this at 30. Now of course you can set this to 60, but personally 30 is perfectly fine. However, you can totally do 60 if you want to. Now for seconds per keyframe, I keep this at 5 and the quality all the way up to 100%. Now for the bitrate, I like to keep this at 30 for the best settings. What 30 basically will do for you is that for the fine particles, like whenever you're seeing smoke or water droplets, this will really make those particles really stand out and look really nice and crisp. Now you can also set this to 26 megabytes per second, and that basically will still give you all the good stuff, just maybe not as good of fine detail on the particles, but still, it's still really good. And now to change this, you gotta go onto mode and click this on CBR, and then you can manually change this, and you can set it back to quality VBR. Now skip index/summary and just go straight to project settings. Now this is the make or break it. Make sure video rendering quality is at best. This is the make or break it decision basically, if your gameplay looks really nice or not. Anything below this and your gameplay will look normal and boring like everyone else's, but if you have it at best, your gameplay will look absolutely outstanding. Now keep these two settings on, not changed, have this at default and have this at use project settings. And basically, those are my settings for my video rendering quality. Now, I hope you guys liked this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And this is the ScatterVolt channel signing out.